we created this space that we didn't know we needed ourselves, right? We create this space and we're feeling like we're able to like kind of tackle these barriers that's been put in place for us here in our own city through running. We're feeling like we're able to like approach them through running. Somehow we're knocking down these walls through the space we created, and then we provide this space to other folks that look like us, and they're coming in there and they're saying the same thing without us even like preaching this, without us this placing this, forcing this on them.
Welcome to the Safe Space Running Podcast. We're here to encourage, empower, and enable. I am so excited for today's guest today, James. James, how are you doing, my guy?
I'm doing good, man. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, I had the true distinct pleasure of meeting you down at TRE. I always say earlier this year, but my time frame is always jacked up. I guess I blame my day job for that one. But last year, December, I had the pleasure of meeting you down at TRE, and that was my first real exposure to be frank, of seeing a lot more diversity in the run space. Of course, I went down there with RIDC as part of the scholarship, but it was really prominent to get to meet a lot more clubs. I think the first one I got in touch with was Peace Runners when I did Chicago. But when I got down to TRE, and then I got to be exposed to more groups of that platform, of that nature, that are doing great things within a respective community, it really lit a fire to, what Safe Space is really about. But before I go into Prolyfyck and, things like that, let me ask a couple of questions for you. First one being is, what is next on your race schedule? Do you have any big plans, any big goals that you're shooting for?
Yeah, man. Speaking of Chicago and Peace Runners and my man Jackie, me and
Mm-hmm.
my best friend Raheem, a leader of Prolyfyck as well, we going up to Chicago and we running the 13.1. So that's next. That's this upcoming Sunday.
I'm so jealous. I'm so
Yeah,
jealous.
yeah, for sure. So
Uh,
yeah, that's this Sunday. So looking forward to that. Getting to see all the run cousins, run family, and he got a good lineup up there of a supporting run
mhm.
crew. So it'll be a family reunion for sure. I can't wait.
Man, you got me tempted. You better stop for I check my schedule and see what I got going on, because
Come
Chicago's
on.
only Chicago's what, a 6 hour drive? Don't play now. I'll show up out of nowhere. I can't. I think the race is sold out, but I know a couple
Yeah.
people who are doing the half. And like I said, Chicago's always a good time. I can't complain. But
Where you located at?
I'm
Where you
in
at?
I'm in Columbus, Ohio. So we
I
need to
thought you
pull
was
you.
okay, okay.
Yeah. So we got to pull you guys up here we have a marathon here. The Columbus Marathon goes pretty hard. The Cap City one is another big one they have,
Cap
our
City,
half
yeah.
marathon. So I actually have something for you for that. So we're going to keep that off the call. That's top
All
secret.
right,
But
all
there's
right,
something
okay.
that, my dude, Stretch, we're going to reach out to you in regards to that, which reminded me of that. But I
Okay.
digress on that one. Again, today I wanted to really talk about, for those who are listening, I wanted to talk with James because he is a co-founder of Prolyfyck, a Black organization down in Virginia, I believe, and they have been one of the pioneers in this running space. I believe you guys had started roughly around that COVID time frame, but you guys were so early into captivating on this runner boom, especially for people of color. So my first question to you was, why start Prolyfyck? What was your reasoning behind starting something of this nature?
Yeah, man, I love this question because it's very unique, but also important to how Prolific got started. Always got to give credit where credit's due, and shout out my other co-founders, Will Jones and Dr. Wes Bellamy. And so Prolific originally didn't get started as a run crew. Prolific, the
Mm,
brand, got started as a merch apparel, and it wanted to kind of do exactly what we're doing with the run crew now, but it got started as a merch apparel to empower and uplift marginalized communities through apparel. And Prolific was inspired by Nipsey Hussle and all the work that he done in his
mhm.
um, Victory Lap single. I'm prolific. I'm so gifted. I'm the type that's gonna go get it. And so that slogan is kind of like what we took and embodied to kind of create the mission behind calling it prolific, why prolific exists, who prolific's targets to kind of empower and highlight. And it's basically the hoods of Charlottesville. That's the
Mm-hmm.
best way to put it. And so the merch apparel, not run apparel, but merch apparel, like urban streetwear, it just never, we was never able to do anything with it. And so fast forward, the brand, the LLC was created in 2018. Kind of just let it rest, sit there, and in 2019, Will, my fellow co-founder, literally he always was active and ran, but he's a barber. He would get off of work after cutting hair and kind of want to stay in tune with like the neighborhoods, the hoods of the people that he
Mm.
cut. And so he would just run this kind of route that's similar to our route today, just to stay connected, kind of challenge himself. And then he got to a point where he was inviting folks to come out there and run with him. No run crew, no Prolyfyck affiliation at all. But just, hey, come run with me, challenge yourself. I know what running's done for me. He was kind of into boxing, and so he just understood the cardio aspect of challenging your mind, do some tough stuff, be able to create better humans by that. And so he was inviting folks out. I was one of the earlier folks to come out run with them. We are kind of running this similar route that we run today, and it was one of the hardest things still to this day that I have done. It was coming to join him on that run. It was 4 miles, and
Mm-hmm.
we run through the predominantly black neighborhoods of Charlottesville. Charlottesville is not that big; it's a small centralized city, but it's predominantly white. And so, we're running through the neighborhoods, which I'm from here, so I grew up in. And we run it through the public housing sites. And the last public housing site that we run through is the oldest standing public housing site here in Charlottesville, Virginia. There's a
Mm.
lot more history that goes into it, but I won't bore y'all on that right now. But we're running through there. It's a night run. It's a Friday night, so like I'm like 2-3 years out of college, not really looking forward to like staying active in the night scene. I'm more so like looking to party, turn up. But I took him up on this run, and as we're coming through the final neighborhood, like it's like homies that I grew up with, they're like outside, kind of like cheering, like encouraging us. And it's all of like 4 or 5 of us at this time. It's not a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like cheering us on. And I'm like, I remember feeling like a weight being lifted off my back, seeing
Wow.
them like kind of being encouraged by us in a way where at the end of the day, like I'm humiliated at this time because I can't breathe. I'm struggling. You know what I'm saying? I had never ran 4 miles before a day in my life.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was empowering somehow in some way. I don't know why, but I think the fact that it was accepted of what we was doing in like, the neighborhood where you typically don't see like black people coming through jogging or running. And so I get back to the Jefferson School, which is where we start every single one of our runs from. And I remember feeling like so like free and like
Wow.
uplifted and like literally like an imaginary like cape being put on my back of like floating. And I didn't understand that feeling. I do now, being a runner now, Prolyfyck celebrating 7 years this year. But I remember thinking to myself, if we can provide this feeling to the up and coming generation through the folks in these underserved, overlooked neighborhoods, that we can create this and provide this safe space to Charlottesville. We can provide an opportunity for folks to come and be themselves doing something that they may not ever been exposed to that can help them in life on day to day challenges and work life balance. And you're building health, but you're also learning these tools to be able to help you with struggles that you've been dealing with in life. And this is all happening after this one run in my mind. And so
Yeah.
we just kept leaning into it and inviting friends and family to like come and run with us because we knew what it was doing to us. Still no run crew involvement, no run club name involvement. And I remember one time it clicked and Will was like, yo, what we doing with this run stuff is what I envisioned Prolyfyck to do on the merch side. We should call it Prolyfyck Run Crew. So we already had the establishment of the brand, but we
Mm-hmm.
just never done nothing with it. And we literally just merged it. And this is all 2019. So we got started in 2019, but we just never really, we didn't even know Run Crews existed. And so in all of 2019, we never thought about us being an actual like run club or run crew, even though we established this name. And then in 2020, we learned about literally black run crews. In 2020, we had no idea.
That's crazy. It's and what I found so unique about it. Again, you guys have now, it's now 2026 now, to where you guys are, world renowned at this point in time. Like you guys are up there with different names that you go to, I'm sure to any of the majors, people recognize who you guys are because of what you've done. There's an interesting thing that I noticed when looking through, your different materials and on your website, there's a particular statement that says, scared, do it anyway. And you talk about how, I'm gonna read it directly from here. Again, check out their website for that. But this one kind of stuck out to me. You guys had wrote down, oftentimes as adults, we look at all the reasons why we can't do something instead of the reasons why we can or we should. And I think that speaks really keen to you guys' mission, especially when we talk about athletics after college, athletics after high school, where as adults, we really don't, running is such a small scope. We're so entrenched in it that it feels like everyone does it. But in the real world, it's not that many people that do. And you mentioned that feeling of trying to provide that to other adults. I want to dig into that a little bit more and ask you, why provide that feeling for others? Why has that been a cornerstone, especially for adults, especially those of color, who oftentimes can give every reason why they can't do something, not matter of if they can or they should, but why was that space so important for Prolyfyck and for yourself to really lock into this run space and culture and expand bigger than what you guys had originally planned?
Yeah, I think we learned we was providing people with like a second life, a second chance at life. Here in Charlottesville, what happened August 11th, August 12th, when white supremacists came into our town and literally tried to take it. The the black community here, felt as if like we wasn't accepted in the city because of how the city responded to it.
Wow.
And Prolyfyck wasn't created on behalf of this event whatsoever. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah.
But like being a native of Charlottesville when that took place and seeing folks like whether they lost their life, got injured, like people out there on the front lines, you had a second thought of like, are we really welcomed in this city? And some people call it the birthplace of white supremacy with all of the history here of the presidents and et cetera, et cetera. And so, we created this space that we didn't know we needed ourselves, right? We create this space and we're feeling like we're able to like kind of tackle these barriers that's been put in place for us here in our own city through running. We're feeling like we're able to like approach them through running. Somehow we're knocking down these walls through the space we created. And then we provide this space to other folks that look like us, and they're coming in there and they're saying the same thing without us even like preaching this, without us this placing this, forcing this on them. They're naturally coming out of their shell and sharing these reflections of how this space has helped them through life and approach this scare, this fear, or something that they was dealing with at work, or something they've always been afraid to do as a child, and now they're able to approach it because running, not being exposed to it, never been an athlete, and you come and do like Charlottesville Hilly, so you come and do this route that's really, really hard and humbling, and then you get to the finish line because we're there making sure you get to the finish line, and we're cheering you on, and we're making sure that you're going to cross that finish line with us. We had that same mindset and approach every single time we showed up to our runs. And we're not realizing that we're providing this to other folks because we're in it as well. Like we're, gaining this knowledge and tools from this thing called run, right?
Yeah.
Ourselves. And I'm like, oh, I'm not really the crazy one. Like these people feel this too. I'm not crazy. Like, okay, this is real. Like, oh, this is actually happening. Your days are just better, right? And so we realize like, you 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years old, and you try this new thing that you realize is really accessible in the sense of you can do it if you are provided the space to be yourself. And so we saw it as giving folks a second chance at life, like after high school and college, whether sport or not, at a certain age. And if you had kids, sometimes you kind of feel like you're kind of done. And when I say done, I don't mean like your life's over, but like plateaued. Like I can't really do that no more. Then you give somebody the opportunity to showcase that they can and be celebrated. It's like, wow, okay, this, I didn't know that was, I've never been exposed to nothing like that. I didn't even know something like this existed. And it's just been able to grow beyond, the run space for us. We really, really, hone in on the community based run crew. Like we hone in on that. We work for the community first. Walking and running is our driving force, but we're here to kind of provide outside resources and show up in ways that other people just don't show up for these neighborhoods that we, occupy ourselves in.
That's that's the one. There's one, and this is not a knock against any run club or run organization, run walk or whatever, but there is a distinct factor that often that I see in the different run clubs and different organizations that I've worked with and talked to at this point in time. A level of community. And I think that when those clubs have that as the forefront first and then the run second, that seems to be such a beautiful catalyst that goes through. That's the part that actually changes because running's tough. Running, but anyone can do it. But I think you mentioned about giving people that second chance at life to have that exhilarating feeling, that feeling of I can do tough things, a feeling of, even if it's just, I'm walking for the first time for 5 minutes or walking my first mile or doing a marathon or ultra, that space is so wide. But yet when you have organizations like Prolyfyck, you have Peace Runners, you have a couple ones here and locally like Easton or Short North, that seems to be the common trait that yields to success in that continuance of people attending is community and giving people that avenue to be themselves. I think that's such a beautiful thing. And it's so I'm still I need to come down there to one of the races because I know that y'all's cheer stations is lit and I'm always here for a good time. But
Yeah, sure.
when you explain why and the purpose behind that to celebrate, I'm all about celebrating everybody in the space that they're in and the fitness that they're in, and at that
Yeah.
point in time the point in time that their life is in. Because
Yeah.
runners, as you've seen, I'm sure, runners and walkers come to you in any kind of state. They can come to you, strong. They can come to you broken. They can come through discouraged or encouraged. Doesn't matter, but you allow them to come as they are. And I think that's such a beautiful thing about Prolyfyck and what you guys have cultivated there. And I know that community work is part of your fold from the things that I saw. I saw that you guys, on part of your articles that I was reading through, not only you guys doing community work, but there was you saw, the book stations. You guys created non-perishable item stations, which I thought was really cool. And it's like those kind of activities make a difference. And that will be the next question for you is why is community service, not just community running, but the community service aspect, why is that important to the identity of Prolyfyck?
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, our route is a 4.5 mile route, and so that's our kind of founding route. We call it. That's our morning route. We do run early in the morning, but we have an evening, mile-ish Mondays, which is today. It's
Hmm.
like a little under a mile and a half, and so it's a portion of our 4.5 mile route. But that's our founding route, and so it almost covers almost every predominantly black neighborhood here in Charlottesville, and so
Wow.
we're not like running near them. Some of them we don't actually touch, but we're close by, but we're in the neighborhood. But like any of them that's along the route, we run directly through them. Like we're like exposing ourselves to the residents so that they know that this is for them. They can come
Yeah.
out, show them what they're able to do. But outside of that, we had to not only challenge ourselves, but hold ourselves accountable. Where if we're going to show up in these neighborhoods, we're like we're accessing their space. There's
Mm,
folks that don't necessarily live in these neighborhoods that's part of our crew, and so they're accessing this space. And it's like, okay, cool,
that's
yes,
true.
this run crew is providing an amazing asset. It's a benefit to these neighbors, but like, what if folks don't want to walk or run, or they just can't because of the time commitment? And so it's like, how do we show up outside of just our run crew then? So if we're going to do this route and show up in their neighborhoods, then we got to hold ourselves accountable and show up in other ways. And so I appreciate and love that about our crew because it like forces folks in a healthy manner of like, oh, I'm getting to know these neighborhoods. How else can I help? How else can I support? How else can I just show up? How else can I just hang out? Who else am I? So we're meeting these people that aren't, maybe is like well rounded or from Charlottesville or just kind of new to the space. don't know these residents and folks which are like pillars of Charlottesville, right? Like they're
Yeah.
pillars of these the history of Charlottesville. So getting to know these people, so they're getting to create their own relationships, get to know them in different ways, so they can show up in different ways. And so I remember, we do a lot of community service work, whereas volunteering with other nonprofits organizations to support the neighborhoods that we walk and run through, to show up and work with the actual housing authorities to whatever it is they may be doing. We help with a local food bank around where folks that don't have the means of transportation, we pick up their meals for the week and drop it off. And I remember thinking, hmm, what if folks aren't doesn't have the ability to go and pick up their meals, right? And I was like, I wonder is there some kind of way that we could kind of support, assist in an emergency effort, right? Like hold you over for a day or two. And I remember one day, man, I saw like 7 to 8 little free libraries, which is great. Nothing's
Yeah.
wrong with that. I highly encourage reading and literacy there. But I remember seeing like a lot on my run, and I was like, I wonder if I could replicate this model somehow to provide non-perishable food items for
Yeah.
emergency assistance. Like, I don't know. So I done some research and things like that, and I was like, all right, well, you don't really need like permits for a mailbox because that's all the Little Free Library is. You just need to make sure whoever plan is going on is okay with it. And I threw an idea out there to somebody, and somebody was like, all right, I've already purchased the show to be at your house within a week. And we partnered with one of the local neighborhoods with the kid. We did like a kids run club
Hmm.
crew kind of thing where we installed it. They kind of got to decorate it and stock it themselves to know that it's theirs. Like, because I didn't want the city to think this was a prolific thing that was for prolific people, right? And so,
Yeah.
like, trying to make sure that this message was received and presented in the right manner. And within the first day we stocked it, it was gone the next day, like all of the stuff
Wow.
out of it. And so then it showed there was a need for it, right? And
Mm.
so at this point, this is just literally on one of the organizations we know that has a office like near our route. And so we have a leader of Prolyfyck that's on the board of the housing authority, and they pitched it to the housing authority, and they approved it. Where they basically partner with us with the pantries, where we provide the pantries, they install the pantries in the neighborhoods that need it the most, and then now it's upkept, and we're stocking it. It's stocked on a community effort. So I couldn't tell you who stocked it. I drove past it one today, and it was empty yesterday. It was stocked today. I couldn't tell you who stocked it. And
Wow.
so these kind of things remind us of not only are things needed, but like people can show up in other ways and still support Prolyfyck and support the community as a whole. And that's all we've always tried to create. We've never
Yeah.
tried to reinvent any kind of wheel, but more so partner and collaborate with folks that has this revolving wheel of support and all the folks that we all want to support anyway, and create ways and initiatives for folks to be able to do that without having to check in, sign off, you know what I mean? And so these food pantries is low barrier, right? They
Hmm.
don't have to check in, they're accessible all hours of the night. If for some odd reason you feel ashamed or embarrassed or something, you don't have to like check out some food from a front desk and anything. Like it's kind of like at your own, like hey, whatever you got going on, it's none of my business. We're just here to
Right.
provide this emergency assistance. And then the women took this model and literally created, they call it sexy pantries, but created these feminine hygiene pantries that's located
Yeah.
directly inside of some of the housing community centers. And so today we have 6 total, 4 dry food
Wow.
pantries outside and 2 feminine hygiene pantries inside. And so they're self-sustained, upkept, community led, and like the residents kind of adopts it on their own, right? Like pick up on it. So they're making sure it's upkept. There's when we're stopping by, they're checking in with us to make sure if it was like, yeah, we don't need that stuff. That's fine. Put it somewhere else. This, we could use these kind of things, and it's been a beautiful thing.
That's awesome to hear. That's truly beautiful. I've always been big on giving back to the community, and it always makes me when you can merge two passions together. It's a perfect match. And I'm always big on paying it forward. You made an interesting statement about we're using their space, and I think that's a good perspective to put on it because I think sometimes, especially when you have these large groups and such coming in into people's neighborhoods, into their homes and things like that, that is their living area, that is their space, and that's their home a lot of times. And I think that's really good for us as runners and walkers to be mindful of the space that we take up in, to honor the space. And if there's areas that we need to help with, that we, unify that, especially if we're sharing the same space with them. And that could be as simple as doing a 5 mile route through the same area. It doesn't hurt to ask those kind of questions, or to be a little bit more cognitive, is a good way to put it, of the state of the areas that we're in.
Exactly.
I love that perspective. And with that, I have one more question for you. But before I do that, always, you said it best about, giving honor where honor is due, when you mentioned the co-founders of Prolyfyck, and those who have, paved the way. And I also want to make sure that we give honor to you as well, to where we acknowledge the work that you've done. Your whole crew is truly phenomenal, to say the least. But I also want to make sure that we explicitly acknowledge you as well, and the work that you've done and the passions that you've done in this community and beyond. Again, this is just a portion of what you've done into this running community, even to those who have watched from afar, like myself, who, haven't had a chance to come down there yet, but be able to watch what you guys have done, watch the impact that you guys created, and give us a model here in the different states. Again, we're taking notes from you over here in Ohio on how to do it right, but not only just to create an environment for people to exist in a community run, but how do we impact the community alongside of that? So I want to make sure I thank you and the entire Prolyfyck crew for what you guys have created, what you guys have cultivated. And I truly thank you for the work that you guys have put into this.
Thank you, man. That means a lot. Seriously. Appreciate
Of,
that.
of course. So my last question is always my favorite question, because again, my heart's always to new and beginning runners. And my question to you would be, what is one piece of advice you would give to somebody who is just now entering into the running and walking space?
Do it at your own pace. In this industry, in this running world, is it's easy to get caught up in
Hmm.
what you see on social media. Is easy to get caught up in where you're going, right? Like, this is what I want to achieve. And that's why I think it's always been difficult for new people to access this space if you've never been exposed to it, if you have no history or experience with running, because it's a very humbling, gut wrenching, kind of like humiliating thing when you're doing it, and that never goes away, right? And so you build up that confidence, and so when entering it, it's literally, this is your pace, is what you want to do, and don't get caught up in the competition. It's very important to be intentional with it too. I think this is also a space, if you're not intentional, you can get caught up in it in the wrong way, and it don't be healthy
Hmm.
for you, and you can build this unhealthy relationship and balance with it. And so, do it because you want to, and follow your own journey, and that's very, very important for everything you do in life. And that's why I'm still running to this day, because it's helped me approach and have different ways to approach how I show up in spaces, because of how I've been able to create my own avenue and journey with this run thing. And so, approach everyday life like you care. And if you can do that with running, I think you got a long road ahead of loving this thing we call run.
I love that, because it's a long-term sport, is what I tell people all the time. Well, I can't thank you enough for your time, James. I appreciate you. For those who are listening, please check out Prolyfyck. I'll have it in the captions below for the different, platforms that we're on. But if you're in the Virginia area, please check them out. They are truly, I don't say this lightly, they are true pioneers into the space, especially in terms of, for Black and Brown. It's for something that we always want equity in. This is one of those groups that truly, puts his money where his mouth is, and, does what they say, kind of thing. So follow them on social, follow on their website. They have plenty of resources there. Buy some merch. It all goes towards, what they're doing in the community. I'm sure I will see you soon. Like I said, I'm gonna check my schedule. I want to pull up to Chicago, but I gotta check with the wife. No, we're gonna
Yeah,
find another race
we
and
figure
such.
it
But
out.
we're gonna figure it out. Like I said, either that or we're gonna come down there and join in with one of you guys for a race in a week. So I'm sure we'll be in touch. But thank you so much.
Appreciate you, Chris.